Now, the biggest project that I've been working on since my last layout update is I've pretty much finished the signals as I intend to have them on the layout. And so you'll see we're up here at the final control point before reaching the summit of Marias Pass. And we have signals here at this turnout. So I forget how many signals I added in total. We'll take a look at all of them, but this is 3 right here. And you'll notice that these are not the BLMA/Atlas style signals that you will see elsewhere on the layout. A long time ago, I want to say like early in 2022, ordered a bunch of, what are they? Showcase Miniatures is the brand. Showcase Miniatures offers signal kits. And so I bought a bunch of material to assemble these signals. But it was one of those deals where it seemed kind of tedious and I had a lot of other stuff that I wanted to push forward on, and I just kind of left these for a later date. But I finally got to the point where I thought that operationally having these signals would really do a lot and sort of streamline the operations and create a better flow of things. Not to mention, they look really cool. And what I love about having these Showcase Miniatures kits is that the ones that I chose to assemble represent an older style general railway signal type of signal that you might see along Marias Pass. There's a couple of locations I'm thinking of, like Bison, the sighting at Bison, Montana. They have these older style signals still standing, and there's also a couple other locations on the line. But these represent signals that I believe Burlington Northern installed, so it has been a number of years, and they just look notably different. So you'll see that there's a very narrow ladder that sort of extends straight out off the back of the signal mast itself. Down at the bottom of the signal, you have a junction box as well. That's an add-on detail part that you can include as a part of the kit. And then you'll see the head itself has the individual visors over each of the signal aspects. So it's not a fully hooded signal like you see on most modern style signals. So these were not too bad to put together. I mean, it did take some time. You got to glue all these pieces together. And then, of course, thread the LED. There's sort of a tricolor LED board that you mount on the inside of the signal head itself, and then thread that through the tube and then down underneath the layout. So it is tedious, it is somewhat challenging, but they're really not as bad as I thought they would be. And I think they just look fantastic, super detailed. And one of the things I did on these too, you'll notice that the back side of the signal head itself, or like the signal face, is painted silver. So on the BLMA and Atlas signals, I did not take the time to paint those silver. And looking at them now, it seems kind of challenging to do so. But BNSF Railway paints the backside of their signal heads silver to create a bit of contrast between the facing signals and the signals that are facing away. So it's a very subtle detail, but I think for railroaders or people who are familiar with BNSF lines, it looks much more appropriate to my eye. And so I guess my only other note is that these signals are a bit more dim, and the reason for that is I put an extra resistor on the common wire of these signals. There's already resistors back at the control panel, which provides resistance, but I feel like it makes sense to have these signals a bit dimmer than the newer style signals that might have LEDs on them on the prototype, which are very, very bright. So I like the appearance of the slightly dimmer signal. Plus, it just looks appropriate for daytime railroading, where when you look at a signal from the side, you don't see this great red, yellow, or green glare off of the signal head. It's much more subdued, and unless you're looking straight at it, you can't tell what the signal's saying. So I'm just going to walk around real quick and show you the signals sort of in, mainline order. So we're up here at the top of the grade at Marias Summit. This is control point Marias right here. And so we kind of had a look at those two single head signals up there. Guarding entry to the siding, which is actually just a reverse loop, is this dual head signal. And you'll see one of the things I did to modify these signal kits is to have the top head, whether it's a dual head signal or a single head signal, the head extends straight out of the signal mast. And so the kit instructions don't indicate to do this, but you can really easily customize these kits as you build them, and this is more appropriate for the style of signal that you will find along Marias Pass. And so it's only the lower head that is mounted to an arm. And the other cool feature about this signal specifically is that because it's facing into a curve, you'll see that those signal heads themselves are kind of tilted off to the side, so that a train, if it's rounding the curve, that the signal heads are facing directly at the crew pretty much once that signal becomes visible, if that makes sense. So you can see that's all red. We don't have a train lined up anywhere past Summit or past Marias. So we come around the curve here, and this is where I already had signals installed, and these are going to be the BLMA and Atlas style signals. So up here at East Blacktail, we have a set of signals, and so this siding already had the Atlas signals installed, as I mentioned, and that is true for both ends. So we come over here, again, another control point at West Blacktail, and then we continue down the grade. We're over here at East Essex now, again, another set of Atlas style hooded signals with the full hood up over the top. You can see that those already appear quite a bit brighter than the new signal kits that are installed. As we continue this way, we roll back through Essex, get down to West Essex, where we have what appears to be a crossover between two main lines. In reality, it's actually just one end of a siding. The right track is just a tail track, and so I don't have that governed by a signal, even though on the prototype they most certainly would. This was just a lazy model railroad cost-saving technique so that I didn't have to add any more signal boards to my control panel. But again, more Atlas style hood signals, as you can see. Then this main line is going to drop down. There's our transition grade right there in the middle of the dispatcher's room. And we pop back out here on the lower level at Belton, and you will see that there actually is a new signal. This one is not a signal kit. This is again another Atlas signal with the modern style hood over the top. But this is actually a new offering as of this year, I believe, and it's a bi-directional single head signal. And so I had already had the gap in the rail cut here to break this section of mainline into two separate blocks. And this signal is just the perfect solution for this location, because you could, in theory, have another single head signal on the opposite side of the tracks and just have them facing different ways. But it's very constrained on the far side of the tracks, and I feel like this is the solution that the railroad would probably opt for. So you can see right now this signal is displaying red going down grade and westbound because the tail end of our coal train is still parked out here on the main just past the bridge there. But if we turn around, you'll see that this signal is displaying an approach indication, because the next signal you'll encounter upgrade from here is over at West Essex, and this is displaying a stop indication right now. So anyway, as we continue down grade through Belton, we cross the Middle Fork Flathead River, go over this bridge, we encounter the tail end of our coal train, and then once we round the corner here, we will encounter the last set of signals on the main line, and this is another set of 3 Showcase Miniatures kits. So we have our dual head signal right here, kind of same thing as we saw up at the top of the grade, and then a couple more singles guarding the main line here at East Columbia Falls. So that is the last set of signals that I have added to the layout. There's no more to show you, but why don't we head into the dispatcher's room real quick and take a look at the dispatcher's screen to see how this looks on a computer. This is dispatcher's screen version 2.0 because over the summer I killed my computer, and when I got a new computer I tried to set it up, but something about the hardware just didn't seem compatible with the CATS /JMRI program that this dispatcher screen is running by. And so I had to use a backup computer that I got a long time ago to run layout specific programs. So this has been set back up once again, which is honestly a painstaking process, but it is functioning finally. And I learned quite a bit through the process, but I just kind of wanted to show you what the track schematic looks like from the dispatcher's perspective and kind of explain what's going on a little bit. So right now I don't have any routes lined, which is why you don't see any green lines, you don't see any signals indicated. But let's say that, I had a train, I don't know, let's say these are the helpers right here at Essex on the siding that's showing occupied. If I wanted to line these up to Mariah Summit, I just click that turnout right there, that switch, and that will change the alignment of the switch on the layout. And then I can click on these signals to set that route. And then out on the layout, as I'm clicking these signals, the indications on the physical signals will change to reflect the authority provided by the dispatcher. So there's a few kind of confusing aspects to this. One is like there's a couple areas where it just seems to go off the screen or just dead end into nowhere. I'll start down here in Columbia Falls. We were looking at our coal train and it's heading downgrade and it's swinging off the main line at East Columbia Falls. It's a little confusing. It looks like there's two different blocks occupied, which is true, but it's really one train. This turnout here, this switch should also be showing red as being occupied, but because I don't have resistor wheel sets on the coal cars yet, the switch is not, the block detection hardware is not reading that any current is being drawn from the tracks here. So that's the reason I need to get resistors on all my cars, is so that this will show occupied. But if you can imagine, the coal train, the rear DPU is here, the head end is in this block, and I had previously routed it set the route with signals and all that so that it's heading down the lower level reverse loop. So this arrow right here where it just ends and goes presumably nowhere, it picks back up here actually, so you can see that arrow continues, and what that's showing is that the train, when it basically spawns once again, it'll actually be heading in the opposite direction. So left to right on the dispatcher screen is east, just as you would expect it to be. Right to left is west, right? So west to the left, east to the right. And so our train is heading downgrade westbound, and then we'll head into Whitefish eastbound. And it does that by using this track in the background actually. So we're in the dispatcher's room, but what's really cool is that all trains head through here as well. So if you were sitting back here dispatching, you would see that coal train come down the grade right in front of us. And then it would probably stay on this track out front here, which will put you onto the main line or siding in Whitefish. The track in the back, this is actually off to Whitefish Yard. So you'll see this is a mixed freight that has just arrived at Whitefish. Couple other locations that don't make total sense are just like where it ends here and there, and that's because this just picks up right there, right? So if we're heading east, our main line goes through Belton, and then it ends here because this is the end of the lower level, and then continues here when it becomes the upper level, and that's what this track is, right? So that's our transition level. So heading in this direction, we're going upgrade and eastbound, and then when we pop out on the other end of that, we'll be on the upper level right here, heading in that direction. And then the final one is up here at Mariah's Summit. That's where our upper level reverse loop is, which I've shown a number of times. That's actually sitting right above us. So you'll see that like the helper set is cleared to run all the way up here, and it just kind of like ends. But in reality, that set of locomotives or that train has been given permission to enter the reverse loop, and then they'll pop back up on the screen on the track above it. That'll show as occupied. And then with radio communication, the dispatcher will, or the train crew will let the dispatcher know that they're ready to depart Mariah's westbound. Dispatcher will give them this switch, set the route, and then the signals will lead them out and downgrade westbound. And so as I mentioned, the reverse loop is right here above us. So that's what that is. It's kind of cool to see all three, not really all three levels, it's more like two, but our upper level reverse loop here, our transition level right here, and then the lower level reverse loop right there. And that is all graphically displayed on our dispatcher screen as well. Well, that is all I have for this video. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I will see you next time.